We begin the fight against Gundyr, and since we can only use fist weapons and there are none at the beginning of the game, we have to punch him repeatedly. Luckily, we can parry him quite easily, and even though our damage is really low, we can riposte our way to phase 2. Now, parrying him isn't as obvious, but if we stay really close to him, we can dodge his attacks with ease. Also, I chose the warrior because it's cool and I'm going to beat all the bosses in the game, DLCs included. We teach Gundyr to never bring a weapon to a fist fight and we can proceed. We reach the high wall of Lothric, and there is almost nothing we need here. Which is good, since we can sprint through the area, but it also means we have no weapons and we'll have to punch our way through Vort. This fight is mostly about endurance. We don't have many heals, so it's best to deal him a little less damage and dodge if we fear we could get hit. That said, phase 1 is quite easy if we stay behind him, he has no way to hit us and he will have to slowly turn around. Phase 2 is a bit harder, because we still stay behind his back, but now his legs and his back can actually hit us when he moves around, and sometimes his attacks do the full damage even if we are behind him. His hitboxes aren't very fair, but we deal with it. When we see him doing the frost breath attack, we can get some free damage in, but never stay near his right leg because we could get hit by the frost. I like to call that Chekhov's Ember, and we can take him down and win the fight. We make it to Undead Settlement, where we can save the pilgrim, and after running around a bit, we can finally find our weapon. The Chestus is quite interesting, because it has the standard fist moveset in one hand, but if you try to two-hand it, we will instead have one for each hand, and we unlock a moveset that consists of 2 fast attacks, one after the other. It has some other quirks, but we'll talk about them later. For now, I use a giant demon as a sparring partner, and after being convinced that the weapon looks cool, we can proceed. We ignore the boss of this area for now, and we head to the Road of Sacrifices, where we can run past everything and everybody, and we keep on running in the woods, where we make 2 fierce warriors fall down the stairs, and from there we run in the poison swamp and snuff out 3 flames to unlock the next boss fight. There is a reason we can basically skip these areas, and that is because for the first half of the game we won't actually be using the Chestus. If we level up with the pilgrim and die sometimes, we can get a total of 5 free levels, and after that Yuria will spawn and she will sell us the Dark Hand. In case you're in doubt, the game considers it a fist type weapon, so it's good for me. It costs 12k, so it's not cheap and it cannot be upgraded, but it's really good in the first part of the game. Now that we are armed and ready, we can fight the Crystal Sage. Our damage is high, and hey, do you wanna see something you probably didn't know? Yeah, it can be parried, yeah, it looks cool, no, it's not that useful. A couple more punches and we send the sage home to his twin brother. After taking the item that allows us to buy Lloyd's shield ring, and after a couple of parries, we are in the Cathedral of the Deep, where we can find Lloyd's sword ring, and we'll have both of them equipped from now on. We meet Patches, and after that we have to fight the Deacons of the Deep. I tried explaining them that fighting 40 against 1 isn't really a fair boxing match, but they wouldn't listen to me. In the first phase we can take down one normal priest with 3 fast attacks, making it pretty easy, and when the main boss spawns, I decided to first take down one of his assistants with the blue dress, because they can cast healing spells and it's really annoying. Backstabbing him is useful, but for most of the fight we'll have to stand near him spamming attacks, hoping that we don't get pushed away too often. It can be useful to go away from him to heal, so that most enemies will walk towards us, leaving the boss alone. It's not a fun fight, but at least it's over. We already opened the door at Farnham Keep, so we can go and fight the Abyss Watchers. We deal an insane amount of damage, we stagger them with every hit, and on top of that we can both parry and backstab them. The fight is basically free, and in case you were wondering, for now I'm leveling only Vigor and Endurance, since the Dark Hand doesn't benefit much from strength and dexterity. Before proceeding in the Catacombs we can defeat the demon on top of the bridge, and when I say that the Dark Hand is really strong, I mean it. It will fall off though, since we can't upgrade it, but for now it's great. In the meantime, I am fighting the Curse Rotted Greatwood, since we ignored it previously. It's a really easy fight, we can destroy his small weak spots in only 2 attacks, and we end it by attacking his end once. I thought we could make the Demon Fist with the Stray Demon Soul, but we need a Demon Soul, that unfortunately is only available on PlayStation 3 or 5. We jump down the Catacombs, but after the bonfire we deviate a little from the main road to get the Grave Warden's Ashes, that allow us to buy unlimited Titanite shards and, most importantly, Cartus Rouge, a consumable that will add a bleeding effect to a right-hand weapon. We can't use it yet though. After crossing the bridge we can fight Wolnir, and it's really easy as always. First we destroy his right arm bracelet, because it's the hardest one to hit when he starts swinging his sword, and then we attack the other 2. We have to dodge like a total of 3 times in the whole fight, and we win. From there we can break the bridge and climb down, where we look at the usual demon versus mimic fight, but this time it's an easy victory for the demon. To the victor go the punches in the head, and we wrestle his soul out of his body. I tried to use the demon fist, but I don't have enough intelligence and strength, also it's not very useful. Okay, fine, I'll show you the spin to win. We go in the Smoldering Lake, where we get the usual upgrade materials and we can fight the old Demon King. At first, I tried using the Chestus, that are now upgraded at +7, but since I still have low dexterity and strength, the Dark Hand is better. We want to stay really close to him, because most of his moves will miss us. I mean, also because we have a very short range. And sometimes we can get hit by splash damage, but we have so many HP that it's not a problem. He turns off at the end, but the fight isn't over until he's on the ground. Here, I decided that having 30 in both Vigor and Endurance is enough, so I triggered the Dancer of the Boreal Valley fight early. She's weak to Dark, so the Dark Hand does wonders, but from now on I'm going to level up Dexterity and Strength to about 40 each, and it's gonna be Chestus time. But for now, let's focus on the Dancer. Her damage is good, but she turns around too fast to be able to hit her in the back, so we'll have to punch her in the face. In phase 1 her attacks are pretty slow, so it's not a problem, but when phase 2 begins, the fight becomes a bit chaotic. We can get in with a lot of damage when we properly dodge one of her long sequences of attacks, so it makes sense to be a little less aggressive than usual and wait patiently for an opening. We take her down, and now we can find enough upgrade materials to have our Chestus at +9. We could technically take the slab in the DLC at this point, without having to fight bosses, but I decided against it because maybe someone is trying to play along this video and they don't have the DLCs, who knows. Here in Lothric Castle we want to attack this black goo on top of the wing, because after they come out and try to attack us, the wyverns will no longer be alive and won't try to set us on fire. Now we can cross the bridge and take this refined gem. There are for sure other ones in the previous areas, but we used the Dark Hand up until now and this one is really easy to get. We want to use the gem to infuse the Chestus and make them refined, because they'll get a little less base damage but more scaling. All in all, since we plan on having 40 in both strength and dexterity, it is a pretty small increase in damage output, but it's still an increase, so why not? Now we can fight the Dragon Slayer armor, even though we have no real benefit in fighting it before Aldrich and Yhorm, but I was here so I figured it was a good idea. We can talk a bit about the Chestus now. When you have them in both hands, the left shoulder button becomes an attack that swings twice, and if we keep pressing it, it combos with itself. That said, the right shoulder button does a single one-handed attack that comes out and ends faster, so it's often useful to start attack sequences with the right, then we can press left 2 times to deal 4 more punches, and then another right will allow us to loop this combo that I think has the highest DPS. Also, the left attacks aren't deflected by shields for some reason, so they are really useful to break the guard of an enemy with a shield, or in this boss fight, if we attack the shield, the second punch will connect through it, and after I'm done rambling uncontrollably, one last punch connects and we win. We venture into Irithyll, and after running in the icy streets and unlocking some shortcuts, we can fight Pontiff Sullivan. He's variable, and this is why I have the Chestus on my left hand. If I have it in the right hand, or if it's two-handed using the left trigger, we'll use the weapon art. But if you have it in the left hand, it will do the parry animation. And after that, I two-hand them to do the riposte. In phase 1, we want to be very aggressive, since dodging away from him can be dangerous, but as soon as he starts phase 2, he summons a clone and we aren't able to kill it as soon as it spawns, so we have to wait for some openings. It's easy to predict what move he's going to do, since he will do the same attack as the clone, delayed by a few seconds, and we use that information to figure out when we can do some attacks either on him or on the clone. When the clone falls, he will try to summon it again, and that's an exceptionally good opening that allows us to take him down. We run through some roofs dodging arrows and we reach in Orlando, where we can fight Aldrich, Devourer of the Gods. They take more damage on the human part of the body, regular damage just below it, and reduced damage on the tail-like remaining body. Since dealing more damage is good, I decided to always stay in front of them attacking. That said, if we are behind them we are harder to hit, so it's a viable way to fight them. All their moves take a long time to prepare and are pretty slow, so dodging them isn't very hard, but they deal a ton of damage, so we have to always be on our toes. We want to stay aggressively near them, because their melee attacks end with the human part near the ground, so that we will deal more damage, and dodging spells and arrows takes a long time since they last a lot. There is one attack that we need to dodge though. They can do a swipe with a scythe that will heal them a lot if it connects, so be careful. They may be the Devourer of the Gods, but they can't eat that many punches and they fall to the ground. We can now proceed into the Irithyll dungeon, but after the usual dodging of jailers and rats, we want to make sure to enter this cell, because here we can find Xanthous ashes that allow us to buy unlimited gold pine resin that will add lightning damage to our weapon. Really useful from now on. After a quick trip into the Consumed King's garden, we can fight Oseiros, and since he's a dragon, we have the gold pine resin with us. Remember that we need the Chestus on the right hand in order for it to work, and the effect is applied to both Chestus since it's considered one weapon. Also, the plural of Chestus is probably chesty, but if you made it to here, you'll be rewarded by me not explaining how Latin works. This boss is pretty tanky, so don't be scared if you see that we don't deal a lot of damage. The weapons have short range, but in this fight that is not a problem since we want to always be really close to him, especially in phase 2. If we stand between his hind legs, his attacks will miss us most of the time, so we can deal a lot of damage with pretty much no risk. The only scary parts are when he decides to run around the arena charging, because he attacks fast, deals a lot of damage, and usually ends up on the little hills on the side of the arena where we can't even reach him. That said, our two-handed charging attack is really good, and he falls down like the rest. We proceed deeper into the Untainted Graves, where we can fight Gundyr again, but this time if we win, we will be awarded the rank of champion. Champion of what? No idea. We have a small predicament here. If we want to use the resin, we need the weapon in our right hand, but if we want to parry, we want it in the left hand, and we could obviously use a shield to parry, but I decided that it didn't feel correct in this fist weapon only run. In the end, I decided to use the resin because I found pretty annoying to one-hand the weapon, parry, to end it, and then riposte. That said, spamming parries is the easiest way to win this fight, but it's still pretty easy either way. In case you're wondering, he is weak to lightning since he's a metal armor, and I missed him so many times at close range that I threw enough punches to defeat him twice. Up ahead we can find the Hornet Ring that will increase our damage during backstabs and riposts. I won't have it always equipped, but it can be useful in some fights. Now we go back to the Profaned Capital because it's time to fight Yhorm. Last time I checked, a sword meant to kill giants isn't considered a fist and is probably not legal in a boxing match, so we'll have to get ready to punch him like 1,000 times to win this one. Well, there is actually something we can do to deal him a lot more damage. If we simply try to hit him in the legs, then yeah, it will take a really long time. If we aim for the arms though, we deal more damage, but that's not it. If we damage his right arm, after taking some damage, he will put his head down for a while and he will be in a repostable state, where he takes additional damage. Here we can use another little trick. If we try to attack his head with a normal right-hand attack, we will riposte him, deal a good amount of damage, and the fight will proceed. But if we use a left-hand attack, we can keep hitting his head without getting a riposte, but dealing the additional damage he is supposed to take. And since he will keep his head down for a while, we can still get a riposte later if our timing is good. We could deal even more damage by using a resin bundle. That is a resin that is really fast to apply but lasts for a short time, but I didn't think about it at the time. And after one teeny tiny punch to his leg, he falls down. And you can scroll down and subscribe to the channel if you like that I did even this gimmick fight with only punches. Now we can finally enter the archives, where we can decide to ignore all the enemies or die against the sage. But after getting out of there and not fighting these 3 NPCs, we can take an elevator. No, not that elevator, the other elevator, the one after the stairs filled with enemies. Well, we can take this last elevator, and it's really useful because it's actually a double elevator, so we can have it go up, and after we get in the second one below and we go down, we can find a Titanite slab to get our weapon to +10. It's time to fight the Twin Princes, but there's only 2 of them and they have 2 hands, so it shouldn't be a problem. In the first phase we want to dodge towards him every time. If we manage to get behind him after a swipe, we can get in some free damage because the second swipe will miss us, but even if we have to dodge both of them, our weapon attacks are fast enough that we can get 1 or 2 attacks in. I almost always use the one-handed attack here, because the other one is a tad too slow and his openings are fairly short. If you stagger him, you can riposte him, but you have to react quickly because he recovers pretty fast. Phase 2 begins, but our strategy is almost the same. We still want to dodge to his left or behind his back, because this way with one attack we can damage both princes. Our range is short, so our positioning needs to be precise, but if you have your roll stopped by his body, we will always be good, so it isn't that hard. We have both gold pine resin and gold pine bundles, and when Lorien falls and Lothric starts to revive him, we can go really close to him using a bundle as spam attacks. Hitting the spell in the face isn't that bad and allows us to deal a little more damage to him, so that we need only a couple more punches to take them down. We now only need to do the hard and optional content, so we make our way to Archdragon Peak, where we can defeat the Ancient Wyvern the intended way, meaning we can run around and use the strongest thing in the game to our advantage: gravity. After that, we clear a path to the Nameless King, but it's not time to fight him yet. We go into the first DLC, where after running around in a city we have to fight Sir Wilhelm in order to proceed, and he's parryable, so that's what I did. I was using the Dark Hand to riposte because I couldn't get it with the swapping from one hand to two hands method. I don't know if he has with timings or if I'm just bad. His armor didn't protect him enough from a flurry of punches, and we can proceed into a snowy forest and a room full of bugs, where we can unlock the fight against Frida. But since I didn't want to forget the champion Grave Tender and the wolf, I went and fought them first. The first part of the fight is pretty easy. We start by getting rid of the wolves and then we can attack him relentlessly. He tends to use his shield a lot, and since our left attack doesn't bounce on shields, it's really easy to spam it and break his guard. Even though most of the fight we can get the riposte because our second attack will hit him right after. When the wolf joins the fight, it becomes definitely harder, and since hitting him out in the open isn't very easy, I want to be near a wall so that his charges get stopped and we can deal some damage. When phase 2 begins, the wolf will start to use a Frost Breath attack where you can hit him at least a couple of times. And when the wolf falls, it's basically over. We just have to spam punches at the guy until he falls down unconscious. Now that they are dealt with, we can finally fight Frida. In phase 1 we could parry her and it would help quite a bit, but the fight is easy even without them. If we hit her, she will be staggered, aside from when she's doing some very specific attacks, so we can jump in between her swipes and deal damage without much to worry about. You can see that I'm spamming attacks though, and that's because sometimes her AI won't know how to react properly, and we can get her in a semi-permanent stagger by using the double fist attack. She won't survive much after a flurry of punches, and we get her into phase 2. Now the strategy is pretty straightforward. We want to be attacking Ariandel while Frida is far away from us, or she already used a frost attack and missed. We will need to do this like 4 times, and then the fight is over. Sometimes we can riposte Ariandel, but it usually happens when he is 2 attacks from dying. Remember to interrupt Frida's zeal, and this is the second phase done. Now it's the tough part of the fight, because since she now has 2 weapons, getting a hit in between her attacks is going to be way harder, but she can still be easily staggered, so often the best strategy is to keep spamming attacks, and she will probably jump into them before being able to hit us. I brought with me some gold pine resin, and all that remains to this fight is knowing which of her attacks are slower so that we can sneak a hit in and dealing her free damage after she goes invisible. And so, even she falls, defeated by these fists. We proceed into the drag heap, where after falling a bit we can find the ring of steel protection +3. That is pretty good since it lowers the physical damage we take. After that we can find the ring of favor +3, another good ring, and we can jump down and fight. Hello? I 100% fell on the ash. I was saying, we can jump down and then jump down again, and we can fight the demons. They will alternate between a melee and a ranged one, and we always want to be really close to the melee one, that will miss us with most attacks, while dodging the ranged attacks from the other one. They will not be perfectly synchronized, and when there are 2 melee ones, trying to deal damage is too risky, so we'll simply dodge away from them, but when they are both ranged, we can obliterate one of them. They are repostable if staggered, and when only one demon remains, he will be permanently melee, and if we stand close to him, defeating him shouldn't be a problem. I always want to defeat the demon from below last, because I think that version of the demon prince is easier to defeat. I brought with me Cartus Rouge, that adds a bleeding effect to our weapons, and I figured it would have been good since the demons are weak to bleeding. And I don't know how bleeding scales, because it should scale with luck, but I think that it doesn't actually do it with some weapons using the Rouge, and I think I didn't even bleed the demon once in this fight, so I'd say ignore the Rouge and use the old reliable gold pine resin. We can deal a lot of damage during the laser attack, and is repostable if staggered, and it won't happen many times in a fight, but it's basically free damage, so why complain about it? To fight the demon, we want to be right under him, as with the other 2 demons before, because some of his attacks will miss us, even though now he can do a 180-degree turn to try and punish us. We have such a short range that sometimes our body will be blocked by his tail, but our attacks won't actually connect with him, but it didn't happen often, so it's not a big deal. One last stagger and we take him down. Now we fly fly to the ringed city, where we have to run around a bit, and after traversing the swamp and dodging the fire on the bridge, we have to defeat Midir. As always, I did it by waiting for his attack aimed behind the rocks and hitting his hand a couple of times. After some minutes, we get a riposte and he falls. Up ahead, we get the Chloranthy ring +3 and we can fight Halflight. We wait for Judicator Argo to finish talking, and if we time it correctly, we can get a backstab on the first Guardian. That is going to fall really easily after that. Sometimes they can decide to roll around mid-attack. We got lucky this time. Halflight spawns and we want to be really aggressive, because if we manage to hit him even once in the ending animation of one of his attacks, we land at least 3 or 4 more punches, dealing a lot of damage in the process. The second Guardian spawns, and that's the hardest part of the fight, since going all in one of them usually means that the other one will punish us. We want to focus on the Guardian while looking at Halflight. If he's doing a slow move, like a bow attack, we can deal a lot of damage to the Guardian without much risk. Sometimes we have to back away to heal, and they even got a lucky heal themselves this time. It is both of them, but since Halflight alone isn't very hard, it's not that big of a problem. Now it's a one-on-one fight, but be careful, because if you engage with a one-handed attack, he can decide to parry us. Even though I don't think he can parry the two-handed attacks, but maybe I just got lucky. We fight as we did before, but if we want to feel cool, we can decide to hit him even during the first frame of his attack animations, and we'll stagger him either way. He falls, and now only the hardest fights remain: the Nameless King, Midir and Gael. Before fighting them though, there is one last thing we need to do. We get the tower key, we enter the tower, and we get trapped inside by Patches. We get out, so that Patches will be at Firing Shrine, and we can buy the human pine resin that will add dark attack to our weapon. We are now ready to fight the Nameless King, but first we need to take down the King of the Storm. We could use the gold pine resin here, and it would be really effective, but this part of the fight is pretty easy, so I didn't even bother. Our biggest problem here is our range, because we have to be so close to his head that even if he moves it around a bit, we are going to miss him. That said, a couple of punches and a riposte are enough to take him down. Now the actual fight begins, and we apply the dark resin we just bought. His attacks aren't super fast, but he will attack relentlessly, and his lance will track us pretty well, so we aren't safe even almost behind his back. This means that we can only attack once or maybe a couple of times at the end of his attack sequences, and it may look like the fight is going to be pretty long because of this, but when he's around half HP he will do a slam to the ground, and then will try to hit us with lightning. But both of these attacks take a long time to charge, and we can dodge the first one if we are well positioned, so we can go ham on him and deal him more than a third of his HP. It is possible to stagger him here, and if it happens it's basically a free win. After he decides to do the lightning strike attack again, we gladly take our opportunity and beat him to a pulp, winning the fight. In what remains of this arena we can also find the Dragon Slayer's armor, and as always I took it because we are going to need it against our next opponent. I mean, not really, it just looks cool. Midir is up next, and you can see his wake up animation, meaning that yes, I defeated him in the first try, and yes, you should like the video because of it. I brought the gold pine resin with me, and I think the best time to apply it is when we are in a safe spot during his laser attack, since we are guaranteed to get some damage in after, because in this fight he sometimes can be so passive that the resin effect ends and we almost never hit him. The way to fight him is to be right in front of him, so that after we dodge his swipes or bites and he puts his head down, we can hit him as much as we can. We can be greedy here, since our weapon is fast enough that even if we miss the last punch, we should be able to dodge away before his next attack comes down. He can look scary, but he only has 5 or 6 different attack sequences, and he doesn't mix up attacks. He literally can only do the sequences as they are, from the first to the last attack. So learning them isn't very hard, and he is going to put the head down in the same spot based on what sequence he is doing, so if we know them well, we can get some more damage in. When he is around half HP, phase 2 begins, but we are going to fight him the same way, since just some small things change that only make it more annoying, not harder. He can now attack us with humanities, but there isn't much we can do about it. We just have to run away and dodge them. His charge attack now will be 2 charge attacks put together, and again it's not like we can react to it differently, we just have to dodge it twice, losing a bunch of time. And his laser attack is going to last a lot longer, but he will be with his head down for a long time after, allowing us to deal a ton of damage. That said, he didn't actually do it. When we deal enough damage to his head, we get a riposte, and it deals so much damage to him that trying to deal some more using two-handed attacks before doing the riposte isn't even worth it, since if we miss it we get really punished. After that, only a couple more punches on his nose are needed to take him down. Now our last, and probably strongest, opponent remains, and it's Gael. And as you can see from where I'm fighting phase 1, I beat him first try too. First of all, we want to bring him on even ground, because fighting on the dunes has strange behaviors with hitboxes, so we want to avoid that. If we usually want to be the aggressive ones, there's no need for that in this fight. He will attack and follow us relentlessly, so that the pace of the fight is basically all on his hands. We just have to dodge a couple of swings and then we can attack once or twice. It can be a bit risky, but for most of the time you can afford using a one-handed attack followed by a two-handed one, and you don't get punished for it most of the time. We will stagger him if we hit him enough, and it will probably happen a couple of times just in this first phase, but we can't riposte him, so we just get 2 more attacks in when that happens. If you need to heal, just do it when you would attack, since it takes about the same time, and you should be able to get him to phase 2. Now, after showing some respect for a tough opponent, we can see that our short range doesn't work very well here. If we aren't literally walking against his chest, being in front of him while we attack, our hits will miss him. So we haven't a real choice on how to fight him. We need to stand tall, look him in the eyes, throw ourselves to the ground spinning in order to dodge his sword, and bash his face in. Phase 2 isn't very hard, since he only has a couple of follow-up moves, but when phase 3 begins we are going to have some problems. First of all, we have to be wary of the lightning strikes, because they have, well, let's just say, disputable hitboxes. Now his follow-up moves are dangerous and will cover a lot of space around him, but the only reliable way we have to hit him is to dodge the last one, being really close to him and manage to get some attacks in before his next attack. And trust me, we don't have much time to do it. I brought with me some gold pain resin, since we can use it with almost no risk during his lock attack sequences if we are positioned correctly. Trading damage now isn't that bad, obviously depending on how many heals we have left, and a little bit of crush factor at the end always helps. We run in one last time, and a double running attack to the jaw slams him to the ground. Now only the Soul of Cinder is left, but we managed to take down Gael and Midir on the first try, so it's not a problem, we just have to punch it repeatedly. And with that, I'll say that you can beat Dark Souls 3 with only fist weapons. And as always, if you like the video, leave a like or even subscribe. I'll see you next time. Well, you'll see me, see the video at least. Why do I always mess up the outro? Wait, did I really make a video where all the jokes were about boxing and I never said to ring the bell?